That's respond to 39747. It takes just seconds. Text respond to 39747. Let your voice be heard and watch Newsmax today. Texting enrolls for automated text messages. Message and data rates may apply.
Mainly cloudy and foggy throughout this evening with a slight chance for a few light snow showers throughout the southern valley over into Lakes Country. We'll have dense fog developing throughout tonight as temperatures cool down to the upper single digits and low teens and a north wind 10 to 20. Dense fog likely Wednesday morning, lingering fog into Wednesday afternoon. A slight chance for a light snow shower with high temperatures in the mid and lower teens and a north wind 10 to 15. From the Skywatch Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm.
Today's weather is brought to you by Summit Carbon Solutions. The ethanol industry is critical for the North Dakota economy and our farmers. Summit Carbon Solutions is opening new economic opportunities for ethanol producers and helping maintain a strong market for corn growers while generating millions of dollars in new property taxes to help local communities support our schools and hospitals. Visit summitcarbonsolutions.com to learn how this project is driving the future of agriculture in North Dakota.
Live from the PetroServe USA studio, it's the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free.
Happy New Year. It is great to be back in the chair with you. Hope you had an outstanding holiday with family, friends, loved ones. We kick off today with just a horrific story that took place last night, Monday Night Football. I'm sure you saw it, but young man, 24 years old, takes a shot. He's a defensive back. I mean, I played football, been hit a ton with helmets, shoulder pads, all kinds of things, and this hit looked like a pretty normal hit, talking about an NFL football game. And as he's getting back up from the hit off the ground, stands up for a moment, and then just, if you haven't seen it, he completely just collapses, falls to the ground. So we're going to dive into that story here in just a few moments. If you want to call into the show, share your point of view. A lot of speculation about what happened to this young man last night. So I think the safest thing to say, because we are talking about the possibility of life and death of a young 24-year-old, is none of us really know. Nobody really, I mean, maybe somebody in, Buffalo that was the surgeon or the cardiac surgeon has some idea, but as far as you and I, none of us really know, but there's a lot of speculation. So if you want to share your point of view and what's happening, please call into the show, 701-271-1100. Again, that's 701-271-1100. As always, you can email us to studio@chrisbergshow.com. Again, studio@chrisbergshow.com. What an absolutely, now, aside from last night, just an absolutely epic day and start to the year. If you have not been watching the news, Representative McCarthy, who was up for Speaker of the House, he thought, hey, this has been my lifelong dream. I want to be the Speaker. We're going to go out and win a majority. This is going to be a done deal. They are now, for the first time in over 100 years, they are now on the third vote. They just completed the third vote. Kevin McCarthy lost again. A hat trick in L's. You've got to start to wonder, what does that mean? How does that extrapolate out for the GOP as far as what we've seen in the U.S. Senate? Again, we talked about this months ago. You and I said, hey, if anybody can screw this thing up, it's going to be the GOP. It's not what I want to say, probably not what you want to hear. But as we talk about every single day here on the show, this is your daily dose of truth. The Senate, with inflation, the border, crime, should have been, I don't want to say a slam dunk, but should have gotten done. Let's just put it that way. Should have absolutely gotten done. And then you look what happened here in the House. They barely pick up the majority. And this is highly unrealistic, but there's still the possibility, because we all know how Democrats, they stick together. It doesn't matter. They stick together. So Hakeem Jeffries consistently at the 212 mark through these several different votes. Vote number 2, McCarthy missed out on 19 votes. This third vote, he missed out on 20. Representative Jim Jordan ended up with 20 votes there. So we've got some House floor speeches from Representative Jordan, Representative Matt Gaetz that we want to play for you, because this could turn into a hot mess with the outside possibility don't foresee this, but I mean, there's an outside possibility that the GOP may not even hold the power in the House. You could have a Democrat step in through some sort of games, and someone was talking about this earlier, some sort of gamemanship or the possibility of, hey, there's no one really running the GOP caucus right now. There's not a real strong whip. There's obviously not a real strong leader. And so some of these people are going to have flights to catch, might go out and grab a cup of coffee. You start missing some votes, the numbers go down, and you just don't know. So let's see how this thing plays out. They're in recess now. If they go back to some sort of live vote, we'll take you back out to the House floor and follow that as well. And then earlier today, North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum gave his state of the state address. Huge announcement from Harold Hamm, the granddaddy, the grand poobah of the Bakken. Harold Hamm, I think, started the business when he was 21 years old. Continental Resources, Governor Burgum said today. And as we all know, there's been the T.R. Roosevelt Presidential Library out near Medora. They were trying to raise money, get this deal done, and it was announced today. And we've got the clip for you that we'll play later. But Harold Hamm donating, I think he's worth now, what, 16, 21, $22 billion, but donated 50 million big ones to the TR Presidential Library. So Harold Hamm, thank you very much for doing that, stepping up and getting really, I think it's going to be an epic presidential library done out near Medora. So let's dive in the story about Damar Hamlin. I mean, first and foremost, please continue to put out your prayer power for Damar, his family. I've got a clip I'm going to play for you here in a few minutes. Just seems like an outstanding young guy from Pittsburgh. As we mentioned a moment ago, 24 years old. I mean, if you've ever been around NFL athletes, I mean, their body is their business. Their body is their business. And so they are in tip-top physical shape. So when you start seeing a 24-year-old get up from what seems to be a fairly standard hit in an NFL football game, it obviously raises a lot of questions. Again, ton of speculation. I want to share some information that's been shared with me. And we'll sort of see if you have a different perspective, different point of view on what's happened here, because there's a lot of people suggesting, hey, this happened because of the shot. The reason this young man fell to the ground after, again, what seems to be a pretty standard hit for the NFL, the reason he fell, suffered this cardiac arrest, was because of the shot, the mRNA COVID shot. So people have been sending me a lot of information throughout the day. I want to share with you a few items to take into consideration. Again, none of us know, but things to consider. So a good friend of ours here at the show sent me over an article from Dr. Peter McCullough back from October 19th of 2022. You may remember Dr. McCullough was in Fargo. I had a chance to interview Dr. McCullough a couple times while he was here. Just an incredible interview. I mean, such a brilliant individual. And I don't want to disclose too much. I mean, it was off the record conversation. And I will just tell you this, that he said, Chris, there's been a lot of bad things that have gone down because of this shot. He said, we ain't seen nothing yet. We ain't seen nothing yet. He's like, just hold on to your horses. 2018, 24, 36 months from now, it will be a dramatically different lay of the land because of what this shot potentially can do to individuals. So he put out a piece, again, October 19th, 2022, so a few months ago. COVID-19 vaccine-induced myocarditis. Myocarditis obviously is about the heart. I just want to share a few bits and pieces from this for you and then talk with you about another story that nobody's told you about, but I think is interesting in the context of what Dr. McCullough is putting out here. So he says this, nearly every day there's a report of a young, fit individual, usually a man, who suffers an unexplained sudden death, now termed sudden adult death syndrome. Now, last night, I don't know all the details. ESPN was a ways away from the huddle, I think rightfully so, because nobody knew what was really happening. This person was given CPR for 10, 12 minutes, I believe, 24 years old. At that point, we were told he did have a pulse, but when you're giving somebody CPR, it's life or death. The last thing the NFL ESPN wants is obviously to have a live close-up of a young man losing his life on live television. So that we all understand. Very, very serious situation about where this young man's life was at. And again, thank God this happened at an NFL football game. Because when I share with you some other information, and you think about if you're at a little league game or maybe a lower level college game, you just don't have the same. You've got first responders there, but not at the level of an NFL game. I mean, they are right there on the spot, hustling. They've got the best and the best of that particular town, city, helping keep people safe, sound, and alive. So he talks about the sudden adult death syndrome because of the COVID-19 vaccine is highly prevalent and linked to the development of heart inflammation and myocarditis. It is a conservative and reasonable conclusion that unless otherwise ruled out, sudden adult death syndrome is a consequence of myocarditis. He goes in and talks about 200 peer-reviewed manuscripts on the topic. But here's where I think it gets interesting. He goes into about the shot, myocarditis, when it's detected. Then he says if it's undetected. So if you've got myocarditis, it changes obviously the heart rhythms, things of that nature. But if it's undetected, these are things that you want to be aware of. On the first manifestation can be sudden death. And this is what he goes on to say. The sudden death could be due to during an athletic exertion. Obviously, NFL football, very athletic exertion. The other one is while asleep in the early morning hours. Now, I bring that up because the story here that nobody else has been talking about, but that recently happened as well. A young man, 38 years old, played 7 seasons in the NFL. It's got a very interesting name, so I don't want to butcher it out of respect to him, but played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. 38 years old. He's a former offensive lineman, and he was found unresponsive in a bedroom around 1 a.m. Eastern time when he passed away. The results indicate due to a possible heart attack pending toxology reports. So, potential heart attack for a 38-year-old offensive lineman in the wee hours of the morning, which, according to Dr. Peter McCullough, lines up with the possibilities of these myocarditis deaths that have been happening across the country that you've seen, whether it be during athletic exertion or while asleep in the early morning hours. So I say all that because a good friend of mine has got a really big following on Twitter. So he put out, again, I know it's Twitter, but he put out a poll on Twitter and says, hey, what do you think caused Damar Hamlin's heart attack? Hit to the chest, prior medical condition, vaccine shot, or no clue. The winner here on this, and this is 3,339 votes, so decent amount. Again, it's Twitter. But over 47% of the people polled suggest that they believe that it was due to the vaccine shot that caused Mr. Hamlin's heart attack. 26.7% believe it was the hit to the chest. So there's one data piece to at least look at. Again, not scientific. And this person goes on to say, who has this big following, says it was a cardiac arrest, not a heart attack. So he did correct that. But he goes on to say, look, I think it was the hit to the chest that caused the cardiac arrest. Would love to know your point of view on, do you think it was the hit to the chest? Do you think it was the shot? Do you think it was something else? If you want to call in and share your point of view, very easy to do. It's 701-271-1100. Again, 701-271-1100. And I've got about a minute left. When we come back, there's a really, I think, outstanding. It was an interview with Mr. Hamlin. And this is a guy from Pittsburgh, just grateful to be in the NFL, to be in the show. So when we come back, I'm going to play a little bit of this clip. We're also going to get to your phone calls. You get a number to call in, 701-271-1100. And then we're going to get into this debacle that's happening on the U.S. House floor as far as now we're in the third vote, maybe going to a fourth vote. We don't know what's going to happen next, but Representative Kevin McCarthy does not have the votes. If you want to email us, very easy to do. It's studio@chrisbergshow.com. Again, studio@chrisbergshow.com. I want to say thank you to Red Wing Shoes for sponsoring our studio email inbox. If you're somebody out there working hard right now in these summer months and you think, gosh, you know what? I need some boots that make my feet just love me some more, that are going to say thank you as we head into this new year, and they're going to be customized to your feet. Go check out Teresa at 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo. Again, that's 3003 Main Avenue in Fargo.
Hi, my name is Rohith, and I'm a junior at Fargo South. I moved here with my parents at an early age, and I plan to study civil engineering in college. The reason I'm so hopeful about my future is Legacy Children's Foundation. I want to thank the amazing donors who are complete strangers to me. I am amazed by their generosity. Because of them, Legacy Youth receives resources and positive relationships to become educated leaders. Find out more at legacychildrensfoundation.com.
When you were a little kid and you thought about what you wanted to be, teaching was at the top of your list. But things changed. And as you got older, teaching didn't seem like the best option anymore. So you're thinking you'll be something else. But what would your 12-year-old self say? Now you want to be a doctor. You don't think teachers save lives? 25 at a time. An actress? Try playing a different role every time the bell rings. How about a scientist? Ever heard of physics? Chemistry? Who do you think teaches that? Teachers today are breaking down obstacles, finding innovative ways to instill old lessons, and taking learning far beyond the four walls of the classroom. It's time to recognize that great things are happening in teaching and put it back on your list. Don't try to convince yourself otherwise. You had it right the first time.
Find out how you can make more at teach.org. Make more. Teach. Brought to you by Teach and the Ad Council.
When it's time to build outside the box, build with Thor.
Stan, my mother's coming to stay with us indefinitely.
I need a space for the boys. Where can we watch the big screen, play cards, eat wings, drink, and work?
Stan, there's no room in the garage for my garden tools.
Need more space, whether it's a granny flat, a man cave, a decked out shop condo, or a she shed, or a horse barn. They've gotten creative when it comes to thinking outside the box. Thor Buildings at thorbuildings.com.
From field to fuel, a story from the North Dakota Ethanol Council. Did you know ethanol costs less than other octane sources, reducing the cost of gasoline at the pump? North Dakota's corn ethanol refineries produce biofuel with among the smallest carbon footprints in the nation, 2 making use of steam from fossil fuel power plants. Investments in carbon capture that will take advantage of North Dakota's unique geology look to shrink those footprints even more. Ethanol is pioneering carbon capture. While the world talks about it, ethanol is doing it here, now, reducing the carbon footprint. North Dakota's corn producers are increasingly efficient stewards of the land, producing more on the same land with less inputs. Yields increasing 25 to 42% in the last 20 years. Find out more at ndethanol.org. ndethanol.org. A message from the North Dakota Ethanol Council.
God knows I want to break free.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. If you want to call into the show, love to hear your point of view on what happened last night at the Monday Night Football game. A lot of speculation going on. So if you want to share your thoughts, your point of view, 701-271-1100. Again, that's 701-271-1100. We're coming to you live from the PetroServe USA studio, helping you and America feel better. If you're out driving about today, please do yourself a favor. Stop into your local PetroServe USA. Fill up the tank, both on the car and in your tummy. Let's go to Paul. Paul's on line 1. Paul, welcome to the show. What's your point of view, sir?
Good afternoon, Chris. I'm going to, in full disclosure, reveal the fact that my comments come from me being a Bible-believing Christian libertarian. That's the way I've chosen to live my life. And there gets to be a point where the main thrust of what's happening to us in the world today comes to spiritual discernment, making decisions, and allowing people to be able to have a freedom of expression, free speech, and free choice over our bodies and our medical decisions, our faith, and our walk in life. Anytime those are impeded or trounced upon, they are basically an assault against the very foundation of which this country was founded on. Now, anyone can speculate and take whatever measures you want in relationship to the way you live your life. I let people make their choices as they wish. There's an old adage that says, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. It is very clear at this point that the efficacy of the vaccinations is very flawed and is no longer valid. Whether people choose to continue with this form of health choices should be 100% up to their choice. And going forward, do I have exact causation effect? All I know is Dr. McCullough was very clear a long time ago in relationship to, in his professional view, that these posed a clear and present danger. And I think everybody should be able to look at that information. And going forward, you really have to make the choice of what system you support. The system that supported pushing these down to as low as such a low risk of young children as into 6 months old or above is ludicrous. And it really does fall on people to now really stand up and make your decisions and take your future into your own hands and start really letting your voice be heard. And I just appreciate being able to have a discussion about this issue.
Paul, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Again, if you want to call into the show, number to do so, 701-271-1100. Again, 701-271-1100. Let's go to Denny on line 2. Denny, what's your point of view?
Yeah, welcome back, Chris.
Thank you.
I was going to say, you remember Operation Warp Speed, right?
I sure do.
Yeah, and President Trump was the big guy behind that, and he said by taking the vaccine that we saved 2.5 to 3 million people. Do you recall that?
I absolutely do.
So now you're saying that the vaccine might not be what it's made out to be, but until we get some really hard-concrete evidence, I think people in these conspiracy theories just take it a little bit too far. Let's wait until we get some really hard data, because when the virus first broke out, we had nothing to go on. I mean, this was something, totally brand new. This was a pandemic that we hadn't seen in our lifetime. So to get it all right in the beginning, no matter what side of the aisle you're from or whatever, is really asking a lot, because usually when most vaccines come out, they're only usually about 50% successful. And the Pfizer had like a 95% success rate, and Moderna had like a 92% success rate. So for them to do that in an amount of time, no matter what, that was something else. So I guess if we could all get on the same page and try to solve the issue rather than divide people with it, I think we'd be better off.
Denny, thanks for the phone call. And I think he summed it up really well there. I think, look, I'm not attached to one thing or the other. I just want the truth. And that's where I think we've had some really big challenges. If you look at the situation with even some of the court cases with the Pfizer docs, Pfizer doesn't want those docs for at least another 54, 74 years or some ridiculous time frame when they're asking you to ingest things into your own body. I think, hey, transparency should be a great thing, and Pfizer should want more transparency. I think the situation with Mr. Hamlin, I don't know what happened. All I know is I think it's fair for all of us to say, hey, what's the truth? What really took place here? And Denny talked about the efficacy of the vaccine and some other information there. I think if you look, it was even a recent, we talked about it here on the show, I believe in November, it was a Washington Post story, which I remember looking at like, this can't be the Washington Post. Like, they wouldn't do so. And the Washington Post headline was, hey, more deaths now due to the vaccinated people than the unvaccinated. So you've got to, I think, appreciate what it means to have natural immunity. And unfortunately, even via the CDC, and many people are going to tell you the CDC is bought and paid for by Big Pharma, but, they weren't even keeping track of natural immunity. And it's, I believe, I'm not a doctor, but pretty undeniable that the best pharmacist on the planet is God. And so when you've got a natural immunity, there's nothing better than natural immunity. That's why I could bring them up. I don't have them at my fingertips, but old interviews with Saint Fauci, Dr. Fauci. And he was on C-SPAN one day, and he was asked about a woman called in and was asking about the flu shot, and she had just had the flu and built up natural immunity. And even she's like, "No, of course you don't want to get the flu shot now. You get natural immunity. That's the best thing out there." I think that's where people are really struggling right now in regards to this vaccine conversation. When you look at, there's just not been a lot of transparency, and when you can feel, and then you start to see the data shift, and there's more deaths in people that are vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Again, that was according to the WAPO. I didn't dive into all the details, but that was the headline. It definitely raises questions. I want to play for you just a quick clip here. This is from Damar Hamlin. This is just a few weeks ago. And I want to play this because I want to sort of wrap this up with a bow on top, because there's a very nice clip here from Mr. Hamlin. I think he was just on some like local, probably Buffalo Bills show or something. But here's what he had to say.
Like, I can't even.
This is heartbreaking. 24-year-old young man from Pittsburgh, played at Pitt, now playing in Buffalo, and obviously a Christian, talking about, hey, we just had our prayer, our DB prayer with the guys. We do it every Wednesday. And just saying, hey, I just feel so blessed and so fortunate to be able to put on these pads and play in the show. And I can relate, when you're a little guy and you're thinking about playing in the show, to actually be there and put the pads on and get paid to go play football is absolutely incredible. And he was just talking about his gratitude for that. And then within just one hit, we don't know. We don't know what the future holds for Mr. Hamlin. Praise God, he's a Christian and out there praying. So he can feel the effects of your fervent prayers. What is it? What is the scripture again? Fervent prayers of a righteous man affect much. So if you can just keep praying for Mr. Hamlin and his family, please. He feels them. Hopefully we're going to have a miracle turnaround in this situation. And I think, per Denny and per Paul, at some point, I know this isn't the focus for people now, but at some point down the road, that there is some transparency and some truth around, okay, so what really happened here? And I think it's important that we understand that, because you've got now, I don't know how many people are in the show, but obviously hundreds and hundreds of young men that are playing a very violent sport. And if a hit like that is causing someone to have a cardiac arrest and potentially die, whether it's the hit and or the shot, people need to know. The NFL right now is concerned enough about, hey, are we going to have enough young men that want to play our game, competing with soccer, and mom saying, you ain't playing football. See what happens to these guys when they're 50, they can barely even talk because of the concussions. Like, you're not playing. So the NFL is scared enough that they're going to be losing young men to be able to step on that field and play. And then if they start to cover up and not have full transparency around this particular situation, it's going to make it that much more difficult for moms to give their young kids the yes to go play. Speaking of football, when we come back, I'm very much excited to this conversation because, as we all know, it is Frisco week here in Fargo. People are going to be heading down to Frisco very, very soon. So we're going to bring in Big Game James, talk about what to expect this Sunday. But also, we have to go back and talk about some of the semifinal games over the weekend, because they were epic on Saturday. The Ohio State game. I mean, who thought TCU was going to be Michigan? I didn't. So we'll get to that as well. I want to remind you, if you want to email us, please do so. studio@chrisbergshow.com. Again, studio@chrisbergshow.com. And thank you to redwingshoes.com. redwingshoes.com. They're going to customize your work boot just for you and your beautiful feet. Check them out, redwingshoes.com.
Mainly cloudy and foggy throughout this evening, with a slight chance for a few light snow showers throughout the southern valley over into Lakes Country. We'll have dense fog developing throughout tonight as temperatures cool down to the upper single digits and low teens, and a north wind 10 to 20. Dense fog likely Wednesday morning, lingering fog into Wednesday afternoon. A slight chance for a light snow shower with high temperatures in the mid and lower teens, and a north wind 10 to 15. From the Skywatch Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm.
Are you suffering from neuropathy? Do you experience stabbing pain, numbness, tingling, or burning in your feet?
Are you tired of sleepless nights and avoiding life due to pain? If you've been diagnosed with neuropathy or are experiencing pain or numbness in your feet, pick up the phone and call us right now before it's too late at 701-929-7505. Again, that's 701-929-7505. Neuropathy is a very serious and progressive disease where your nerves start to break down. Eventually, it leads to balance problems, falls, complete loss of independence, and it can lead to amputation. Our program addresses the underlying causes and doesn't simply mask your symptoms with medication. In fact, many patients start experiencing relief from neuropathy symptoms within weeks. There's no surgery and no use of prescription drugs. Pick up the phone right now and call 701-929-7505. Call us today at Dakota Clinical Chiropractic at 701-929-7505 today.
In this season of giving, give a life-changing gift to yourself or someone you love. Give the gift of education. What better time than now to complete a bachelor's degree, earn a graduate degree, or tailor your education with a certificate from the University of Mary. With classes available online in the evenings or a combination of both, your degree at Mary will fit into your schedule. Give yourself the gift of a flexible, affordable education from Mary. Learn more at online.umary.edu. online.umary.edu.
What you've heard about probiotics is probably wrong.
I eat yogurt, so I don't need to take a probiotic. Probiotics? They don't really work.
It's time to learn the truth about probiotics and join the Align Healthy Gut Team Up. Align has probiotics to naturally help relieve occasional bloating, gas, and abdominal discomfort. Try Align probiotics for a month and see how great a healthy gut can feel. Get $2 off your first month of Align at alignprobiotics.com.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just one dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
These days, we all want our money to go just a little bit further. We also want to support local businesses. When you visit the Big Deals online store, you can do both. Shop anytime. The store is always open and loaded with great deals. Buy discounted gift certificates to local businesses and spend them just like cash. Visit online or download the Big Deals app to shop right from your phone. Shop local, buy local with Big Deals.
From the kennel to the coop, whatever the season, Fleet Farm has everything to keep your animals happy and healthy. From training your pup to sit season, to mastering those retrieval skills season. From clipping your horse for competition season, to keeping the backyard birds well-fed season. And of course, loving your pets like family season. There's a reason people say, if Fleet Farm doesn't have it, you don't need it. Because we have it all. Fleet Farm, built for real life.
Big Game James is like slamming his just forehead against the desk, his hands. He's like, let's go. I got to get out the feel of this deal, man. Every time you hear this song, you just want to go charge the field. Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free. We got Big Game James in studio. I was telling him when we were off, I was going to say off camera, but off the mic. I was like, I don't know where we even start. There's so much going on right now. I do obviously want to start with the most important thing, and that is Mr. Hamlin. I know you were watching Monday Night Football last night. Just your first reaction, your assessment.
So right off the bat with what happened, we just were signing off of Primetime Sports. Jason and I were. And it was that play was happening as we were signing off. Because I remember saying, there's 5:58 to go in the fourth quarter. Have a great rest of your night. And God bless my out cue. And then I just went to my computer screen for a quick minute and was fiddling around on some stuff. I was Xing out of a couple things. I was pulling up a couple of news sources, things of that sorts. And then Jace goes, hey, James, you got to see this. I said, what? And he goes, we need to rewind the TV about 2-3 minutes. And we rewound it, and we watched Damar Hamlin make that tackle on T. Higgins. And I go, okay, nothing's wrong with that. And when you watch it back in that real time, essentially, it cuts away to the fans. And then you hear the refs whistle, 6, 7, 8 times. You just hear the blow of the whistle a half a dozen times. And then he's on the ground and you wonder what the heck happened. And then you see the replay of it, and then you see the raw emotion of his teammates and the emotions, and some guys are just in tears, and you can't blame them one bit. You see how afraid some of them are. Some guys had to turn away. There were probably 3, if not 4 dozen people that were in a circle praying down on a knee, just trying to do everything that they can in their power to help out. And they ended up having to give him CPR. His heart had stopped. They were able to get it back going again, and they had to get the ambulance out there, and they take him off. And I give so much credit after looking back at all of that to Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals as an organization, because if you saw throughout it, as much as the NFL, at this point, they're going to deny it. I can't confirm that they were or were not going to play in 5 to 10 minutes, quote unquote. But if you saw throughout that interaction, going from commercial break back into the booth over to the stadium, or to like Booger McFarland and all those guys that were doing some analyzing, and Adam Schefter, they would show little clips of Joe Burrow throwing passes and different guys kind of stretching out again a little bit, is to the best of their ability. And you thought, there's no way they're going to play football here in the next 10 minutes or so. And all of a sudden, the head coach for Cincinnati, Zach Taylor, goes and walks over to Sean McDermott, the head coach for Buffalo. They have a conversation for a quick minute. You see him shake hands, hug it out, go and talk to the official for a moment. And all of a sudden, both teams were off into the tunnels, into their own locker room. And then about an hour later, you saw essentially the team training staffs. They were starting to pack up the gear. There was no official word yet. They decided to postpone the game, and they allowed players. You saw Stephon Diggs, you saw Zach Taylor, and countless others that made their way to the hospital for Damar, and to check and see how he was doing, to see how his family was doing. And I thought it was just an unbelievably classy move on their part to essentially, lack of better words, choice word this, we're not playing football. This is a humanitarian thing at this point. This is bigger than an NFL football game. We don't care if the number 1 seed in the AFC is on the line. We don't care if our playoff berth is on the line. We don't care anything about that. This is about that young man who's a second-year pro in the NFL, is 24 years old, and we hope and pray that he has the rest of his life ahead of him. And it's just such a tough situation. He's still in a critical condition right now, and I hope that in the near future, the next couple of days, that we get some positive news about maybe him making some strides forward. The big, if you want to put a smile on your face a little bit, impact wise, he had his own toy drive essentially on GoFundMe, where he had a goal of raising $2,500 for local kids in within his home community in the state of Pennsylvania. And it was a goal of $2,500. And since all this had happened last night, we're looking at about 19 hours ago, it's just over $4.9 million.
Wow.
So I never would want something like this to happen because of what happened to that young man. But at least there's something where hopefully in the near future, he can be good to go. He can be healthy and recovering. And this can kind of be that bow on top, hopefully, because you never want something to have to be positive to come out of something so negative and tragic. So at the very least, whether it's that quote unquote Bills Mafia, whether it's the fan base of Cincinnati and the Bengals, or anybody else in between that's just kind of a bipartisan person that decided to step in and try and make an impact, I applaud them and thank them. And there's a long road to recovery still at this point, regardless of what happens. And hopefully we have more updates and some more answers soon. But I know his family had put out a release in the last couple of hours, thanking everybody for their thoughts, for their prayers, for their impacts of kind thoughts and kind words. And it's really cool to see, especially in a country where we can at times say that we're so dang divided, come together for somebody like this, and for something positive in such a negative circumstance.
I want to talk Bison, SDSU, going to be an epic game coming up on Sunday, not Saturday, but Sunday. James is going down to Frisco. Before we get there, though, speaking about epic football games, number one, did you honestly believe TCU could win that game against Michigan?
Hey, I wouldn't have said it if I didn't believe it.
There's no. I thought there's
Two pick
no
sixes,
way.
baby. Oh man, the
Well, that's the
Horned
only reason
Frog.
why. Yeah,
he can do it, man. Oh, Max Duggan doing his thing. Johnston in the wide receiving core. That defense, they got some dogs out there.
I mean,
that was an exciting game. Michigan, don't get me wrong, they gave it a run for their money all the way to that last snap of that game. But
they did. But 2 pick sixes, you overcome that. Like then you should win, but they shouldn't win when you have 2 pick sixes.
exactly.
Then you got Ohio State, which I was shocked. Those guys went out way ahead against Georgia, and all of a sudden Georgia comes back. But then Ohio State's got they have a slam dunk kicker, 50-yarder, and he just shanks it.
And I've had so many people tell me that he shanked it. He's a good kicker. He is. He's a very, very quality kicker. But one thing we kind of have to look at is where are the hash marks in comparison to essentially the goalposts for college football. They're a little bit on the outside. And he was lined up on the left hash. This wasn't a gimme field goal from 50 yards out. And if you kind of saw where it went, yeah, it did in some people's eyes because he didn't get the maximum height on it. And it ended up being 15 feet to the left, close to 20 feet to the left. He didn't kick it completely straight, but I mean, he had it in line with that left hash he was lined up on. So it's almost like he had lined up like he was between the hashes on it. But I really think that there was an adrenaline rush, and I think he knew he needed to get everything into that kick to make it happen. And so he just gave it his steel boot that he had, and he ended up, the one time you don't want to kick it darn near straight, he ended up doing that, so it looked like he shanked that kick. That was my take on it after watching 25 different angles. I wanted Georgia to win, but it was one of those ones where it's the same thing in the Iron Bowl. And what was it, 2011, between Alabama and Auburn, where that 59-yard field goal came up short, and they took it back with what, Chris Young, I believe, Chris Johnson, whichever, took it back for a score, and Auburn won the Iron Bowl, and it was that big rah-ha. And then there's death threats coming to that kicker. Like, calm down. One, it's a football game, and two, I'd like to see you go and make an extra point, let alone a 60-yard field goal, man, 50-yard field goal. That's my I give kickers more grief than I ever should. I'm a Vikings fan. I shouldn't expect anybody to make a kick, right? So it's a tougher job we give it credit for.
I'm just gonna say, I'm glad you're not doing radio in Ohio, because people will be like, "What are you talking about, man?" I mean, that's his gig. He's supposed to make those kind of kicks.
Oh yeah.
Well,
lucky for them, I'm a Minnesota sports fan, so I expect them to miss it.
All right, let's talk NDSU, SDSU. You're heading down there. Kind of give us the lay of the land. Like, we're going to come up on a break here in a minute, so we've got a minute, and then we'll keep you over. But what's happening this week? When do you leave? What do you anticipate from the game?
These shenanigans begin Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, Michael running the board. He's going to be the lead cameraman for it. He's going to capture every which thing that Jason and I does that will do. Poor choice of words there. I muffled
it
a little
works.
bit. Wow. Essentially everything that happens that we want documented or not, Michael's going to be there to capture. Some of it will be awesome. Some of it will be embarrassing. Regardless, I think you'll chuckle at most of it. And that's what I care about. I could have a little humility. If I end up tripping on the sidewalk and Michael captures it and puts a logo of the losing team on there for it and makes a meme out of it, I don't care. That's fine with me. If I accidentally at some point, or I suppose not accidentally, if I on purpose at some point jump into the pool and Michael captures on video, so be it. I'm okay with that. Now, if I get chased by security because I ended up in, maybe a clearance area that's higher than my pay grade, well, you know what? At least somebody captured it and showed me getting laid out by security. I'm okay with that. Regardless, it's going to be an exciting trip, to say the least.
Yes, it is. Quickly, man, because I just want to get to the game. Like, what's your take on? Gosh, we're already coming up on. All right, stay with us. I want to like dive into the game and get your takeaway and what's going to go on. They're going to be with us all week too, right?
Oh yeah,
okay.
Yeah, hey, as long as you're okay with it, I'm willing to hijack any and everything I can get my hands on.
Perfect. Then yeah, he'll be joining us all week, but he's going to stay with us here. We're going to talk a little more about the game and then also some breaking news on the House speaker situation coming up right after this.
Hey, Flag listeners. This is Spencer Brandt from Media Shack LLC. Do you want to have fun at the workplace? Media Shack's the place for you. Join our hardworking team of 14 people. We're currently hiring sales, embroidery, screen printing, production, and shipping and receiving positions. To get started, go to MediaShackFargo.com/careers. That's MediaShackFargo.com/careers. Or call 701-612-9363 and ask for Jenna. That's 701-612-9363.
Attention farmers, in need of grain storage? Great news! With steel prices dropping, now is the perfect time to update your operations. Give the team at Gateway Building Systems a call today. Take advantage of our winter discounts on grain bins, dryers, and aeration systems. Let us get your farm back to full strength. Act now, before the new year. Go online to gatewaybuilding.com or call 1-800-747-4499.
North Dakota is a special place.
Oil and gas supports more than 60,000 jobs in the state of North Dakota.
And the industry is vital to our economy, adding nearly $4 billion in state and local tax revenues.
Why would we buy oil from dictators when we have it right here? We produce it the cleanest, the greenest of anywhere in the world.
Keep creating great jobs, and right here in North Dakota.
We support North Dakota oil and gas.
Paid for by American Experiments, North Dakota. AmericanExperimentND.org.
The biggest bed sheet sale ever is on at MyPillow.com right now. MyPillow.com. Remember to use the promo code Scott and get Giza sheet sets as low as $29.99 when you use the promo code Scott at MyPillow.com. Now, you might say, well, what's with this Giza cotton sheet, Scott? Why do I need those? Well, they're made with the world's best cotton, which is called Giza, grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's long staple cotton that makes it ultra soft and breathable. Its satin weave gives them a luxurious feel. Available in multiple colors, styles, and sizes. It's also machine washable and durable with a 10-year warranty. 60-day money-back guarantee. Right now, $29.99 with the promo code Scott. As low as $29.99 with the promo code Scott at MyPillow.com, MyPillow.com for the biggest bedsheet sale ever.
Every year in the U.S., nearly 300 children 17 and under unintentionally shoot themselves or someone else with a firearm.
Nearly 500 more die from suicide by gun.
Responsible firearm storage can prevent tragedies like this.
We can protect kids using these smart steps.
Secure all guns in your homes and vehicles.
Model responsible behaviors around firearms.
Ask about unsecured firearms in other homes.
Recognize the risk of teen suicide.
Tell your peers to be smart.
If you're gonna play in Texas, you gotta have a fiddle in the band. That lead guitar is hot, but not for Louisiana man. So rosin up that bowl for faded love and let's all dance. If you're gonna play in Texas, you gotta have a fiddle in the band.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show. If you're going to play in Texas, yes, it is Frisco week for the Bison football team heading down to take on SDSU and the Rabbits, the Jackrabbits. It's going to be just a phenomenal game. Big Game James is with us right now. Before we get to him, I do want to remind you, because as we are coming out of the holidays, it's been cold. It's been tough the past few years. I know if you're like me, you got a lot of friends out there right now. They're not sleeping right. They're dealing with anxiety, maybe depression. They just don't feel like themselves. And like, gosh, I don't know what's going on here, but I wake up, I don't feel right. I'm just not feeling normal. Do yourself a favor. If you're going through that right now, like a lot of people are, call Sirius of Fargo. They may have the solution for you. And the best part about it, you show up, you call them, find out if it's a decent fit, and then you can take a nap for like an hour. I mean, it's that simple. So give them a call. It's 701-566-5231. Again, 701-566-5231. Sirius of Fargo, and they'll be able to help you just break that pattern. If you get a better night's sleep, feel better, and just feel like you again. All right, Big Game James. This game to me, and we've said this before, just line up, hit each other in the mouth, and see who wins. What say you?
So for I'm going to get yelled at for this one. That's okay. For your quote unquote modern football fans and your modern sports fans, the ones that they don't like the old pitchers duel where it's 1-0 with a dozen strikeouts and only 5 hits, or they don't want that 10-6 football game where the leading rusher has 50 yards and you average 3 yards a play because the defenses are just they're just outsmarting the offense and they're grinding it out. Great plays both ways. The offense is playing well, but the defense is making that big stop on 3rd and 2 repeatedly. This game is going to be, I really believe, exactly what that is all about. This is going to be one of those games where you could be talking first to 20, man. I mean, against Incarnate Word, I really thought you hold them under 30 and the Bison were going to get a win. They didn't hold them under 30 and they found a way to do it. South Dakota State, they did boat race Montana State. Montana State did lose a couple guys from last year's team, though. I mean, their star defensive player, Troy Anderson, he's in the middle linebacker right now for the Atlanta Falcons. So they lost some people. They brought some guys back. Don't get me, I'm not dissing on the Bobcat defense, but they were learning as they went. There wasn't as much championship pedigree or experience on that team. A couple of guys got hurt, and South Dakota State knew what to do from there. North Dakota State's been there. They've done that. They've been in this position before. These are a couple of powerhouses. These are a couple of juggernauts. These are a couple of rivals. One, the Bison are playing like they've never won a championship at the moment. Two, the Jackrabbits never have won one. And both teams would love nothing more than to win a national championship game in Frisco, Texas, with their entire fan base screaming as they beat their arch rival. There is nothing better. I'm telling you right now, if it was possible, the Vikings, especially after Sunday, if the Vikings could go and play a Super Bowl against the Packers and win, I think I could check everything off on my bucket list in my life. Same thing if the Minnesota Twins could do it against the Chicago White Sox, I'd feel the same way about it. The Minnesota Golden Gophers could beat Wisconsin in the national championship game. You would see me. I would look like one of those Philadelphia sports fans climbing a light pole after the game. There's just so much greatness in the fact that somebody's going to beat their arch nemesis for a national championship. It's going to be unbelievably amazing. It may be a little bit more gritty, maybe a little bit more, you know what, get your hand in the dirt, roll around in the mud a little bit, and you're going to have to play with the big dogs, but it's going to be an exciting game. And as long as you understand what both these teams want to do, and that's going to be run the other over, it's going to be tough to do for one.
So if you're South Dakota State, by the way, if you're just joining us, big game, James, he's heading down to Frisco on Thursday. So we're going to be talking about the big game coming up on Sunday. Again, Sunday, not Saturday, NDSU versus SDSU. If I'm the D coordinator for SDSU, especially after watching the Incarnate Word performance from Cam Miller, I'm just putting 9, maybe even 10 guys in the box saying, okay, Cam, see what you got. You agree?
Yeah, you very well could, because Cam he proved it the last 2 years, right, that he can throw the football. But has he proved it the last 6 weeks? It's a consistency thing, right? He outsmarts most everybody.
And there's no Hunter Lipke.
Nobody
correct?
watches more film than him. And if you really want to go deep into that, Tamarick Williams on this week's first 2 deep depth chart that was dropped in the last couple hours, Tamarick Williams is not on it. Raja Nelson is not on it. And both of the Mostart twins on the defensive tackle line, they're not on it either.
They're talking like number 3, number 4 guys all year as running backs.
You're talking Tamarick Williams, a guy who essentially was when healthy. He's the Southern Methodist, the SMU transfer. Yeah. He's a young man who would be the lead back. It'd be him and Kobe Johnson, a 1-2 punch. Tamarick is a big back, 6'1", 225, 230, a big young man, a big physical back. He was one of those guys I think that Coach Entz had hinted at, maybe wasn't as far along in the rehab process as we would have liked coming back from Christmas. Not to say that he won't play, but if you're South Dakota State, you look at that
on the top 2. That's
all of a sudden you're chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I mean, and that's even more the reason. No Hunter Lipke. I'm telling you, there's going to be 9 guys in the box. It's going to be Cam. Good luck. Let's see what you got. All right.
Kobe Johnson, though?
You'll be back tomorrow. We got to wrap. We'll be back tomorrow. I want to let you know that the U.S. House did not elect a speaker today, so they have now adjourned until tomorrow. We'll have the update for you tomorrow. Plus, the state of the state. We didn't get to that today. There's so much going on. This is the Chris Berg Show. I love you. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 4.
Polls keep showing a very tight race between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. This could be the biggest political battle ever. Now Newsmax wants to know what you think. They're conducting an urgent poll asking if President